you have come to the place where you can learn to harness the power of intention, to create subconscious beliefs that serve you, and to gain insights that allow you to create a life, personally and professionally, that you desire. This is the place where you leverage your subconscious mind and design your destiny. Join me now, your host, Penny Chason. Hello, my joyful souls. I am back here today with a special episode. I'm interviewing a friend and someone who's going through transformational coaching with me as well. Not me as the coach, but we're in the same coaching program. And her name is Michelle Petit. And she is someone who has used hypnosis for quite a while to create what she wants in her life. And I am just actually going to turn this over to her in just a moment because she has a really great story of how she transitioned from corporate into her own business. And I'm just going to turn it over to you, Michelle. Why don't you introduce yourself to everyone? Let them know what it is that you do.
Hello, Penny. Thank you for having me. It's a really honor to be here. And my name is Michelle Petit. I'm originally from Switzerland. I live in Zurich, for those who know Switzerland. And I'm actually an interior coach. I help females to create whatever they want in their home. So this is something which I've dreamed of for many, many years. And today it's possible to do this every day. And that's just absolutely gorgeous. I love that.
You know, this is somewhere I have wanted to go for a little while. And I think you're a great person to speak to this. I know how the subconscious works. I mean, we pick up things from our environment all the time. Mm. And in your experience with what you do with women, how important and how much does it play a role in what you do, how the environment impacts the way that we feel, the way that we see ourselves, and our success in life, whatever that is?
It's a good question. The thing is always that our homes, they reflect us. So as your clothes reflects your personality, your taste, and it's nothing different when it comes to our homes. So however you live, just look around and it's actually you. And everything, with every book, with every picture which is on the wall, or whatever you have in your home, it's a reflection of yourself and your being. And you may pay attention to things and you may pay less attention to other things. And what I discover always, or a lot of times when I work with clients, is actually that women tend to buy a lot of things which they don't need. And there are men who do this too, but not as often as women. And women often have this urge to change things. So like when we end the relationship, then we have the tendency to change our hairs. And it's actually the same when it comes to our homes. When we have this urge, either there is a baby on the way or there are circumstances in our personal life which, suddenly change. And then we want to change our home, but often we don't know how to do this. And the thing is, the impact is absolutely underestimated, because what I could see often is also that when there are things which are not in place, then we don't pay attention because it's annoying. Maybe it's too complicated. We don't have the solution. We think it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of money. So that means we don't do it. For example, the seller is always a good example for this, because we have tons of things down there and we actually don't need them. And I often test my clients to, if they say, no, we can't put that away. And if this is a box and you can tell me what's inside, even though you didn't went to your seller for 3 months, then you can keep it. Otherwise, what would be the need of a box, which what and you don't know what's inside. So there's no reason to keep it. And it's underestimated often, because also that when we pass by, and this is an example I also use a lot, because everyone has a shelf in their home. And if you pass by a shelf which is messy and has a lot of knickknack on, you probably don't have the time for it to rearrange it, but it also, it really annoys you. So this is actually something ongoing in your mind, but you don't change it. And there you can ask yourself, why do you keep those kind of things like this, and why you don't change it? And then I step in and I help mostly females to make this change.
I think that you make a very good point, because, I live on a farm. My husband's in and out. We're about to go into hay season. And I can guarantee you there are going to be many days that I come home and where he's run in the door and back out the door, there are just things put on the most convenient place. We moved from a 2,400 square foot house plus outbuildings and a cellar into a 1,200 square foot house. It's been 6 years and I'm still purging things. But when he and I both get busy, him with the farm and with me in the business, which now I've dialed my involvement in the business way back, I can do much more by doing a whole lot less. When things get cluttered, my attitude has to be adjusted. I don't like clutter. I don't like stuff. I've come to this place where I like things nice and neat and minimalist. Mm-hmm. And he's just the opposite. He wants to keep everything. Yeah. So do you see that when you work with people, that there's this disconnect between what partners want?
Yeah, there is. But, we have this picture that from many, many 100 years ago that, the man is the fighter and he goes out and, is the chaser. And the woman is the one who keeps everything tidy and clean and warm. But there are couples which is vice versa. They are functioning in a different way. I don't know why, but it is like it is. But it's often that we have this inside of us because we want this cozy, nesty feeling that it is our home, which is important to us women more than to men. And men often want to have it functional, structured, but easygoing. Nothing, no knickknacks. And I can see that with my relationship. My partner and I, we don't live in the same apartment. We are living in the same, place, but he lives in number 10 and I live in number 7. So we have the same apartments. And if you go into his place and if you come to my place, you are in two different worlds. And when he has his kids who come over, you come in and there are shoes everywhere and bags and stuff around it. And it's like, oh my God, okay, kids are here. If my kids come to my place, they know, if they take the shoes off, they hang up the coats, but it wasn't constant training, constantly saying, put your shoes here, hang up your coat, don't put the bag inside of the kitchen. I don't want that. So it is a constant, but we as women and mothers, we are mostly used to do this. And men are just like, it needs to be functional. That's the thing. It doesn't be pretty, functions. Yes. It has to function. However, and that's what I can see.
You mentioned on your website, and I want to get into this. I mean, we've talked a little bit about this mindset around the environment. And I think it's important because a lot of people work from home now. I think COVID has proven that a lot of people can work from home. What advice would you give or pointers would you give to someone to set up that environment to optimize their workflow, to help them to have that focus and even just joy, a little bit of joy in their space when they're working from home?
Working from home for me was actually always, I'd always did it in my entire life. I rarely worked only on a certain place. So I was used to that. And then I worked in the office furniture industry where I learned a lot about how to install your office. And now with my own business, I can see, and especially since last year, that home offices are just, it has to have a place where you can have your laptop and your stuff. And you want to have, if it's possible, you want to have a room or at least a corner where you can, when you are done with work, that you don't see it from your couch. And what's crucial when I install home offices is that you don't work against the wall. So you're not facing a wall while working. So if you have the chance to look outside or at least inside of the room and not against the wall, because it's blocking your horizon. So it's and the flow. It's not really good to stay creative or productive. And then there are like things which you don't need a lot of space unless you are like an engineer and have plans at home, but mostly it's not the case. But you just need your own little table and a chair where you can sit. What I also tell people, you also can work on a cabinet, which you can have like a bar stool. So you don't have to sit like 8 hours on one place, just move around. You do that. Probably you have the chance to do that also at work. So you take your laptop and you just move around. So that's what you can do at home. So if you have like an hour where you just work at the bar or in the kitchen, you just try to move around. If there are not kids running around but if it's possible, move around, because this gives you some other energy. Every room and every space has a different energy. So that's what gives you also energy back. And what I also say is, like, we tend, if we work from home, not taking enough breaks, because we think we are, we have this feeling of, I can't do that because I need to work. But in the office, even if you just walk to the printer and back, and then you have a chat with your colleague, or you have a coffee, it's kind of a break, and then you go back and concentrate. And that's what I always tell people when they work from home: do the same. Take a coffee, have a break. Don't go immediately back to work. Just have this 5 minutes of break, go to toilet, coffee, water, or whatever, and then come back. And I can imagine that there were struggles with people had the struggles with creating a home office. Sometimes it's hard to find a space, but the thing is, you just need to have a dedicated space wherever this might be. It doesn't matter. But if you have to put it somewhere like in a bedroom, make sure that once you're in bed, you don't see anything of this, that it's like covered, or it's like just out of your reach with eyes. So you don't look at it.
Right. Up until March, my office had been an hour and 15 minutes away, but I also had a home office. But what I found was, when I was at home, is it was very tempting to go into my home office space to work. It just seemed too easy. So I managed to find a location that's 10 minutes from home. And I moved my office. And what I did was I moved my home office out of the house. Like, there is nothing work related at home anymore. And, that's because I was choosing to not honor my own personal boundaries, because it just seemed so easy to be like, oh, I can do this in 5 minutes. And then you know how it is. Entrepreneurs, we end up down a rabbit hole. And this was my way of having my boundary for myself to separate home and work so that I can enjoy that place. And I probably would not have come to this point if I had not had the experience I had back in the fall with COVID, and really how important it is to take care of ourselves. A lot of times we think we're taking care of ourselves, and we're not, which brings me to something that you experienced. You were having some burnout in your job. You said you actually experienced hearing loss. Explain a little bit about that.
So, yes, it was in 2016 when I was in my corporate job, which I thought that was the job of my life, and I'm gonna get retired in this job, and no one will ever get me off this unless earthquake happens or whatever. So for me, that was sure as the amen in the church. I was gonna stay there. whatever it takes. And I worked like crazy. I went, I was a single mom with two kids, a big garden house, and I left home in early in the mornings. And when I drove back, normally it was already dark, and I just, headed to the gas station to get some bread and cheese and whatever for food, and then heading home with the kid for the kids. Anyway, long story short, I had a hearing loss in 2016, yes, end of 16, beginning of 17. For the first time, I came back from Copenhagen. I was flying back, and I thought just, it was something because of the plane. And you have this kind of pressure in your ear when you leave the plane. So I didn't pay attention to. So like the weekend, I had friends over and I couldn't hear them. And I was like, what is going wrong? What is wrong with my ears? And then she was a flight attendant and she said, like, it shouldn't be like that still here. You have a problem with your ear. And I could not, or I did not admit that there is something wrong with me. So then I called my doctor on Monday morning and and he said, oh, you just can come. You want to come over right away. And I was like, well, no, it's not possible because we have the budget meeting. I don't have the time for it. And he said, oh, yeah, you will have to make the time because I think it's important. So I went to the doctor. And then he said, like, you're going to stay home for 6 weeks. I'm going to make you a note for your boss that you will not be at work for the next 6 weeks. And I was shocked. I was like, I can't do that. It's not possible. I had all the excuses for not doing that. But then he was testing me and I had a hearing loss of about 50% on one ear and 75 on the other ear. So that meant, it meant that something wasn't good. So my body made all the bells ring to tell me, hey, Michelle, I think that's it. You're going to step back. And then, I didn't have the choice. I was back home and I couldn't believe it. And obviously I was still in my emails on my phone and I was still trying to keep up. But one day or another, I just had to admit to myself, I was doing too much in one day. It was crazy when I look back. And sometimes today, like today for me, it was like my creative day. I was painting a shelf and I was doing something for myself just to spend time outside because we had beautiful weather. And then while painting, I was like, how did I manage to do this with 2 teenagers, 3 dogs, a huge house, a huge garden, and a full-time job with close to 14 employees? And I don't know how I did it. And the result was that I had this hearing loss. And I stayed home for close to a year.
What did you do to overcome that challenge?
I did. I forced myself to do nothing. Really to do nothing, even though I had to fight in a way for the payments because the company was like, didn't agree with what my doctor said. And so we had this thing going on beside, but otherwise it was actually a reset and everything had to change. Literally everything. And after this, everything changed. But I read a lot of books. I meditated a lot. And there I actually also went back to the hypnotist, and this helped me to overcome this whole challenge because I always thought it was about me. I was wrong, but it wasn't me.
Yeah. Now, correct me if this out of order, but this job that you were in is one that you manifested through hypnosis, correct?
Yes.
They told you wouldn't be able to get that job.
Yes. Yeah. Everyone told me it was not. I don't have this education. I was not studying. I didn't have an MBA back then. And I wasn't able because I was just a single mom working as a project manager for 60%. So how shall you get, or how do you want to have this job? It's not possible, Michelle. And the job was, taken by my former boss. And then I said to myself, I wanted. And I was joking around with my former boss. I was like, I'm going to get your chair. And he didn't believe me. No one did. And then I just did. It was a Swedish company, and I did everything to manifest this job. And I said, whatever it takes, I'm going to do it. So I was listening to ABBA. I was eating some Swedish food. We had a Swedish flag in the kitchen. I had a Swedish flag in my car. I went to IKEA to get myself into this Swedish mood again. And each time someone told me off, someone told me, it's not possible, just be realistic. And I just went back home and I was listening to this one song from ABBA, The Winner Takes It All. And I was just, I was putting myself back into this vibration all the time, in the frequency, all the time, back and back. And then I organized some females get-togethers, and there was one lady, she was organizing hypnotic sessions for public. And I thought, well, this could be an option. I will go there. And we were like 10 people, and we were in a place which was reserved for us only. And there was this guy, this hypnotist, and he told us we have to have a vision, we have to have a goal, whatever we want to achieve. And if we would like to share it, we can. And I was like the first one. I said, yes, I have that. I want this job. And I explained that. And then they were like, oh, really? You want to have a job? But it's taken, and Swiss people are very, how I say that, like generous, but still they were like, oh, really? You can't do that? I said, yes, I can. So there, this hypnotist put us in this hypnotic mood or moment or feeling. And I was seeing myself signing the contract and seeing myself flying back to Sweden and going back into this company as the sales director. And I would say it was 6 months later, I signed the contract and I walked out, and it was like 2 months or 3 months later, I flew up to Sweden. And this was my biggest manifestation through a hypnotist. And since then I knew this works.
Yeah, that's amazing. You continue to use hypnosis. Actually, you and I have been part of the same coaching program. And you talked about how the hearing loss forced you to be quiet and listen to your own thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Tell people where having to be in that place led you. That's what started your business, is it not?
Yeah, it was that I was asking myself, what if you don't hear, and if you don't hear outside what is going on around you, or you can hear it, but you can't sense what kind of noise it is, or if someone is talking to you, you have a lot of time with your thoughts and a lot of times with your emotions. And in the beginning, it was scary in one hand, and the other hand, I somehow discovered to really get calm in myself, get really silent in a way of that this ongoing chatterbox in my head was, coming down. It was getting slower. I was not that distracted anymore because I couldn't hear enough. And there I realized that I actually, if I look back, I couldn't stand it if someone told me what I should do, what I supposed to do, whatever the processes were crazy in this company. And each time someone told me, oh, Michelle, we do it like this, or this is the process, how we do it. Obviously I followed through, but still it was something inside of me which was against it. I was like, why should I follow those rules? I want to do it. I want to do that how I want to do it. And there actually the seed was planted that I told myself, and one day I'm going to be my own boss. And this was in end of 2017. And I went back in another corporate job for a year. And then I started this side hustle. I started, I knew, I was like, okay, I want to find something where is my passion? And then I did a course here and I did a course there, but I could not find this fire in myself. And then I was really meditating as I do every day in the morning. And I was meditating and I was like, what did I do when I was little? And there was actually this little drawing book which my mom kept. And I always draw plans for others, for friends. When I was like in school, I draw little, plans where they should put their bed and where should they put their desk and where they could play and where they could be, whatever. And I didn't want to play with all the girls. I didn't want to play Barbie and I just wanted to move furniture. So there it started. And there actually, after a couple of months, I said to myself, okay, I'm going to jump. And then COVID hit. And then I didn't had to think about it. That was the sign to jump.
Yeah, it's interesting because that a lot of people will ask me, what is alignment? What does it mean to be in alignment? Mm-hmm. And for you, being told what to do like that just didn't feel good to you. So that's one of the ways you know that you're not in alignment, that you're not on your path. It's an excellent example. And another thing that I want to point out is so many people will have physical symptoms, even become sick because of the stress or the situation that they're in with their work environment. And rather than listening to their body and taking the time to listen to themselves, fortunately, you had the doctor that kind of, made you go that direction. But, it's not even worth thinking about what may have been if you had not done that. But a lot of people do stay in that situation and they push through. And I think it's so much more important that we follow that path that leads us to happiness and that we listen to ourselves because we know what it is that we need. Now, you're still using hypnosis to this day.
Yes.
Why don't you? And I think you pointed out how when you were in that group hypnosis, you knew exactly what you wanted. And then you talked about how you kept keeping yourself in that place and in that vibration. So for those of you listening, if you're wondering how you can use hypnosis yourself and create what you want, go back and listen to what Michelle was talking about when she talked about the group hypnosis and then staying in that vibration of getting that job, because our environment does influence our mind, which is why I wanted Michelle here, because if you visit her Facebook or her website, you're going to see some beautiful work that she does. If there's anyone out there who's concerned about hypnosis or had a question about it or doubt about it, what would you say to them?
What I would say, I always come up with this example, whatever, for people who don't know how it tastes a banana, you can't describe how the taste of a banana is. Or other example is like, you can't read the book how to ride a bicycle or how to swim. You have to try it out. And it's the same with hypnosis. It's the same. So if you don't, I can imagine that some of people are afraid of because, they think it's like flying around and doing stuff which you don't want to do, but it's actually not at all like this. It's not at all. It's this peaceful, warm feeling you have when you are with yourself in alignment with what you want in life. And what you want in life is, we all know what we want in life. The thing is, we often don't dare to believe in it because we are listening to all the others, and we are listening to people who, if I would have listened to only one of the people who told me you can't have this job, well, I was doubting sometimes, but then I was putting myself back into this vibration immediately because I was like, no, I don't want to listen to that. I just want to be in alignment with what I want. And this was the proof for me that it worked. And it's the same with things which we are scared of. When we don't dare to do it, we don't know. And there is a very good video out there from an actor, and he says, like, God placed the most beautiful things beyond fear, and that's That's so true.
Yeah. Pretty much all of our fears are created by our thinking.
Yes.
We're only born with the fear of falling and a fear of loud noises. Everything else is something that we've created in our minds out of our imagination. So if our imagination is powerful enough to create all of this fear and worry, it's powerful enough to create what it is that we want. Now, you've experienced a lot of different types of self-hypnosis. You did the group hypnosis. You went and saw someone with regard to your hearing loss. You've used self-hypnosis. You and I also did a session together, which have the testimonial on my website. And that was specifically to just kind of like, there was just this thing there, not knowing what this thing was. It was just like you felt there was something there keeping you from fully being who you needed to be to create what you want. What was that experience like for you? And what shifts have you noticed since we did that emotional work?
I always thought even though I knew what I wanted in life and what kind of things I wanted to achieve in the outside world, I always thought there is something wrong with me. Something is off with me. Something is not. I'm not like everyone. There must be something that people look at me and they go like, oh, she's weird. And even though if I would be weird, whatever, I don't care today. But this thing, I didn't know what it was, and I still don't know what it was, but actually it doesn't matter anymore because you told me, or we went through this session together, and there I discovered that everything is all right. Everything is fine. Everything is good. Everything, I'm in the right place at the moment where I am today. And whatever people might think of me or my work or whatever, I don't put energy into it anymore. And since then, and that was the biggest shift. It's like if there's someone coming up to me and say, oh, what are you doing? Oh, interior design. Oh, there are hundreds of interior designers. Well, yes, that's true. But there is only one me. And after this session with you, this was so clear to me. It was this missing piece of self love I was looking for.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
How has it changed in how you show up?
It makes a lot of things so easy now. It's like, if it's in a relationship with my partner or is it with my kids, or I stepped back from being this person who wants to, or I stepped back from the people pleasing part inside of me. I just don't pay attention to that anymore. And it comes up from time to time, or when I meet someone new, sometimes it can be that there's a little moment of doubtness, but then I just go back and I go like, no, everything is fine with me.
And that's the difference between thought and belief.
Yes.
Right? Because sometimes down inside, we could, much earlier in life had repeated a story to ourselves in response to a situation or a circumstance. And it kind of sticks and that becomes part of our radar. And you kind of get that filter out of the way.
Yeah.
And truly, with all of the work that I do, unconditional self-love and the self-worth that comes from that makes all the difference.
It's a game changer.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
Yeah, it is. So you have some pretty interesting things going on. And just if you have kids listening, I'm warning you, I'm about to drop an F-bomb.
I know what
remember the name of your master class. What was the name of it again?
I just wanted, to explain why I did that. It was so funny because I was thinking about a masterclass where I wanted to show up as me. And when I look back, there are things which I screwed up, to say it in a nice way. But since I'm evolving continuously, I don't pay attention to this anymore. And I was looking for a masterclass where female can identify themselves with it. So I made it quite upfront and straightforward. So the masterclass is called the Fucked Up Masterclass. Sorry for the word, but it was actually the most specific word I could find. And everyone was actually eager. And I had the first class last week. And, the feedback was that a lot of girls or ladies were like, finally someone who just names it, and it starts with interior. And because we are all having this kind of, you buy something and it just doesn't fit, or it's with the clothes or whatever, or you meet someone and you just go like, oh, I thought he was Mr. Right, and then it ended up as Mr. Disaster. And there I explain and I take away all the pressure while talking through my life or about my life. And a lot of people, and a lot of females especially, can identify themselves with it. So yes, that's my masterclass, but it's just a hook to get people's attention. And I don't do a lot of other things like that. And it was something which I always wanted to do, but I didn't dare to do. I wasn't sure, shall I do that? It's so straightforward and what the people might think. And I was like, yeah, you're going to do that because you really want to do that. And it's also me. Sometimes I just drop those kind of F words. And it's just like, sometimes in life it's pretty shitty sometimes. And that's also life. And it's not always, it's not always sunny and beautiful and warm and bubbly things to drink. Sometimes it's and that's also a part of us.
Yeah. Even with all of the mindset work and the hypnosis work in the world, we're still human and we have to have grace with ourselves. It's not always going to be, as I love to say, rainbows and unicorns.
Yes,
for sure.
Exactly.
Let everyone know where they can find you on social, your website, and your podcast.
Yes. Actually, the easiest way is to go to my website, which is michellepetit.com. It's the easiest way. There you can find all the social media links. You can find my podcast. You can find my freebies if you need a guide, how to create your bookshelf or how to make your home a little bit more cozy. There are free guides on my website. Just feel free to get them, download them.
Well, I want to thank you for being on. You're an inspiration. I love the images that come across your Facebook. They inspire me.
Oh, beautiful.
And thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Penny, for having me. Thank you very much.
Thanks for tuning in today. I would love it if you would head over to iTunes and leave a positive review about how this episode has helped you to improve your life. When you leave a positive review, it helps us to reach even more people, helping them to change their lives. And that positive energy and vibration of sharing comes back to you as we spread the message of how you can use the power of intention, creating stronger subconscious beliefs, and raising our vibration to create the life that we desire. The one that we're here to truly live so that we can fulfill our purpose in life. Once again, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.